Okay. Malaki po ba? Nakikita nyo po? This is the research example of research paradigm, okay, or the conceptual framework. This is a what we call a quantitative kind of research. I have here the independent variable and the dependent variables. As you can see under here, I have 6 variables and other sub variables. Am I loud and clear po? Naririnig pa po ba ako?
Yes po.
Okay, good. So I have here the CPD program, the CPD compliance, CPD benefits, professional responsibility, motivation, and self-awareness. Under the dependent variables, this part is able to what? I'm gonna use this tool to measure the independent variables. So, i-connect ko siya. Therefore, this kind of research paradigm is what? Correlational. So, ano kaya ang gagamitin dito pag correlational? Of course, the pretty obvious, I'm gonna use the Pearson product moment correlations from the word correlational. So as you can see here, I have here the statement of the problems. What is the mean perception? What is the mean perception of the respondents? So on and so forth. Now, of course, my hypothesis I have here. Let's proceed to the question. Now, in my survey questionnaires, as you can see in the first question, what is the mean perception of the respondents in terms of CPD program, such as the work-based training, self-directed learning, and graduate educational studies? Now, in my survey questionnaires, uh, this example, it didn't go through first to the first question. Why? You need to ask first the demographic profile of your respondents. When we say demographic profile, it pertains to the respondents' profile, such as their names, their age, their gender, the school maybe, the status, probably married or unmarried or separated, or this is supposedly widow or widower. Okay, now of course, if your respondents have this kind of specific positions in a, like for instance, your respondents are all teachers, so be sure you have to include their ranks, their positions, like teacher 1, teacher 2, and so on and so forth. Of course, their years in service, for instance, educational attainment, for instance, and the part 2 is the respondents continuing professional development involvement. How are they involved in different probably trainings and so on and so forth? Although it is not part of your statement of the problem, maybe or somehow you are now predicting that maybe this data may be important when you are going to correlate. Probably the reason why this teacher has very high efficiency, it's because a v- she has what, probably graduated she has a doctorate degree, or probably this person or teacher has a lot of professional development uh, program um, attended, for instance. That's why these are the things that you have to put in mind. What are the things that I should or may be used in my research? Although it is not part of your questions, you have to put the things that you think important in gathering your data, such as the demographic profile, although it is not part, or it is not written or presented in your research paradigm. Okay? Next. So this is still part of demographic profile of your respondents, for instance. And the part 3 now, this is now where your question is. You have to go back to your research paradigm go back to your statement of the problem if you are a quantitative. Kasi ang developmental research, wala po siyang statement of the problem. Ano lang po ang meron sa developmental research? Meron po siyang objectives and research questions. Yung research questions na yan should be anchored to your survey questionnaire. And for the quantitative, your questions or questionnaires should be anchored to your statement of the problem. And your statement of the problem for the quantitative should be anchored to your research questions and your objectives. So, para siyang chain, like a chain, dikit-dikit. So, mapuputol ang chain if this kind of questions are not related. So, let's proceed. I have here a 5-point scale, Likert scale. The first one is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ang kanyang verbal interpretation is, I have here the strongly agree, agree, undecided, disagree, and strongly agree. But I'm requiring you only to have at least 4. Why? Bakit kailangang 4 lang? Para matanggal po natin ang undecided or the word maybe. Sometimes your respondents would not really read your questions. To play safe, they will just put the score in the middle. So to avoid that to happen, to determine really whether a yes or a no, and there's no maybe, you have to put a 4-point scale only. All right, this example is a 5-point scale. Now let's go to the first question. What is the first question in the statement of the problem? The first question is, what is the mean perception of the respondents on CPD program in terms of work-based training, self-directed learning, and the graduate education? Let's go to the survey questionnaire. Questionnaire number 1. Dali lang guys ha. Alright. So, medyo tumaas. Yep. Wait a minute. So, as you can see here, in my questionnaire, I asked my respondents what are their developmental of continuing professional development programs or CPD in relations to their work-based training, self-directed, and the graduate education studies. And I have here questions. As you can see, sa lahat ng questions dito, lahat sila, all of these begin in verb form. Kung nag-start ka ng noun, magtatapos ka sa noun. Kung nag-start ka sa verb, magtatapos ka sa verb. And that is what we call parallelism. When you ask questions, be sure that your questions or survey questionnaires rather, should be what? Parallel. Hindi po pwedeng gagamit ka ng are having relevant in teaching career path. Gumamit ka ng having. So dapat lahat yan ing. Providing, fostering, okay? Assessing, inferring. So kung doon ka nag-start, lahat yon ay ing. But if you begin with a verb form like are, help, provide, so lahat yan dapat nagtatapos sa be form. Okay? Next, kung nagtapos ka naman sa ito, kagaya nito, sentence form siya. So, dapat lahat yan sentence form. So, ito ay CPD compliance. Distance is not an issue. The quality, so siya ay sentence form. Kung ito naman, ang ginagawa para mapaiksi ang isang o to minimize the redundancy or the repetition of words, all you have to do is to put your first sentence in here on top. Example, the reason why teachers do not pursue continuing professional development because, or because of financial stability. Instead of rewriting this again, the reason why the teachers do not pursue continuing professional development because of family issues. So instead, ilalagay mo na lang siya dito, as you can see, small letter. Bakit siya small letter? Kasi part siya, this one is part of the beginning sentence that you have on top. Mayroon siyang 3 dots. It means this is continuous. So as you can see, ito related dito, number 2, lahat yan small letter. So the reason why teachers do not pursue continuing professional development because of overloaded work at school. So hindi ko na siya isinulat ng isinulat ng isinulat, pampahaba. Alright? Now, let's proceed to the second question. The second question is, what is the mean perception of the respondents on CPD compliance? So kung makikita mo, ano yung tinatanong dito? Mean perceptions. Therefore, if you are going to gather this data, kukunin mo ang mean ng respondents mo. And how are you going to do that? So, allow me to open my Excel. Is it working? Oh, it's not working. Okay. So I have here. Oh, this is my sample data matrix. So anyway, I will create another one for you guys to come up with your data matrix. Now, a data matrix is actually the inputs or the summary of the gathered survey. So example, yung inyong, you're gonna type here, for instance, demographic profile of your respondents. So how many respondents do you have? Example, respondents 1, 2, 3. Medyo matagal lang to guys ha. So, pagpalagay na natin, you have 10 respondents maybe. Okay, 10 respondents. So, you have respondent 1, respondent 2, respondent 3, up to 10. Now, ano yung first question ko dito? What's my first question? What is the mean perception of the respondents on CPD program in terms of work training? Tandaan nyo ha, work training. So, ilalagay natin yun dito, work training or WBT para mas maiksi. So, we're gonna type on top, WBT. What else? The second part is self-directed learning, SDL. Yun na lang code natin, SDL. And then the third one, the third variable is Graduate Education Studies, GES. You have the GES. So how are you going to do that? At the end of this, you're going to put the mean. Take note ha, take note guys on how are you gonna use this in your Excel para hindi kayo malito. For instance, ito yung WBT, SDL, GES, and mean. Now, ilan ang questions mo sa WBET? Let's go to the questionnaire. Oopsies. So I have here five questions. So kung 5 questions yan, ang ilalagay mo dito sa iyong Excel ay 5 din. So you have to add more column. And this one, merge it. Ibababa ko lang to guys ha. Alright. So this will be your question 1. Question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, and question 5. And then the mean. Alright. So yung mean, lalagyan mo siya ng color para hindi ka malito. So probably color. Where is the color? Yep. Love green. Probably light one. Alright. So lagyan ko muna siya ng line para hindi kayo malito. I do hope you're listening. Kasi kailangan nyo to guys sa pag-gather ng data. Alright, for question number 1, respondent number 1 answered probably 5. 5 ang kanyang sinagot sa question 1. Si respondent number 1, ang sagot niya sa question 2 ay 3, 4, 5, or 5, for instance. Okay? To get the mean is the average. Alright? So to get the mean, all you have to do is, makinig mabuti ha, click the sum to get the sum, and then enter. So, ang kanyang mean ay 21. However, i-divide pa natin yan sa ilan? Ilan yan? We have 5 divided by 5. So, ang kanyang mean ay 4.2. But be sure, naka 2 decimal places. And then, copy the formula. All you have to do is to drag it down. So, ayan na yung kanyang mean. Next, let us just say na nagsagot din si respondent number 2. Lahat yan ay you should be honest in answering, ha? Hindi yan hinuhulaan. Because I'm gonna check your data and of course, the Excel one. So, lahat ng inyong survey, naka-file. Hindi nyo pwedeng itapon. So, iyan po ay i-check. To be sure that you really encoded the right answers. So it is not just a guessing one. Okay, but here, this is just a sample. So I'm just guessing what they answered. So I will just copy this para mabilis tayo. Kasi we don't have time. Alrighty. So this is now the mean. And then at the bottom, you have to put the total. So get the sum. Alright. And then, ano ang mean ng mean nito? Pinaka-general mean. All you have to do is get the sum again. And then, how many respondents do you have? So, I have here 38. But how many respondents do you have? Your respondents, ilan? How many respondents do we have here in this example? Guys, are you still listening? How many respondents do we have in this example?
Miss
10
10.
po,
10.
Miss.
Thank you. What is that? Okay, so you have to divide this into n, 10 population. So this is now, why is not working? Oopsies. I forgot the divide. Slash and 10. So your overall mean is 3.84. Ayan ha, lalakihan natin. Now, how to get your SD? You're going to get your SD. Kasi kung ikaw ay quantitative, kailangan mo ng SD. What do you mean by SD? SD is to measure how closeness the answers of your respondents. Paano sila what is this? Magkaka-tabi-tabi o magkakadikit-dikit. Alright? So, if this is your SD, kung ito ay summary, you have to divide it into 10 first. Okay. Now, in here, you will get your SD. So, the SD here is equals SD. Where's the SD? B. I can't find the formula. Standard. Ayan, STDVS of this, or let us just say, I'll just drag it down para mas madali. So the SD is very high, 1.42. How come? How come it's very high? There's something wrong here. B12 to B14. Yeah, tama naman itong iba. So anyway, that's how you do the SD. So all you have to do is to type S equal sign STDVS dot S and then drag it down. So yan po ang inyong SD. So paano mo makukuha yung inyong mean? Ito lang po yan. Okay, that's so easy and all you have to do is to do the rest. Now, how to put this in table? Like for instance, ito lang yung question number 1 mo. Paano mo siya ilalagay in table? I have here a sample on how to put that in tables. Okay, this is a sample table. I have here the indicators or your questions. Question 1, question 2, 3, and 4. The mean, the SD, and the interpretation or the verbal interpretations. Okay? So, ito po ay naka-table. How are you going to do that? Kung makikita mo sa tunay, nakaganito po yan, naka-table. Para maayos yung inyong data. Now, lahat ng table number nakalagay sa taas, and then the title of your table. And after that, ito po ay walang line. Okay? There's no line. Buburahin mo yan. Ano lang ang may line dyan? So, lalagyan mo ng guhit yan. So, probably this, and then that. Yun lang po ang may guhit. Yan po'y open, it's not closed, as well as the bottom part. Line, and then another line. Okay? However, if the table is your own table, hindi mo yan kinopya sa iba, galing talaga yan sa inyo, then you have to highlight that. You have to double it. So go to borders and shading. Hanap kayo ng mayroong dalawang guhit. Probably this one. Okay. So, iyon ang lalagyan nyo ng guhit on top. See? And then, down. So, kung ito ay sarili nyong idea, double the lines on top and the bottom part. Open po ang side. And then, here's the SD. Ito naman yung mean. Ano yung nakuha mong mean? And then, the overall mean. Ilalagay mo yan diyan. And then, the legend. You have to put the legend or the equivalent. As you can see in your chapter 3, may pinalagay po ako sa inyong equivalent ng interpretations of the Likert scale. Example, 0 to 1.8. Ayan po ay 5. Huwag niyong gayahin to. Iba to ha, kasi ito ay 5 Likert scale. Ang pinagawa ko lang sa inyo ay 4 Likert scale. So ito po ay 5, kaya siya ay 4.21 to 5. Which means very high level, or if the teacher has very high level, therefore, she is called a distinguished teacher. Yun po yung example. And then, down there, you don't have to say the table 1, go directly. Table 1 shows the respondent's perception on the level of blah, blah, blah. This is the title over there. And then explain what is that about. The learning environment has 6 strands. Ayan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got the highest results, which has M equals 2, meaning the mean, with the SD of. It is followed by the strand 1, which is, and then explain mo why. Bakit iyon ang nakuha? And then, as you can see, yung table 41, bakit mayroong table 41 dito? Ito ay table 31 lang. You have to compare. Example, itong table 41, ito yung demographic profile. Example, lahat ng mga respondents ko ay all professionals. So, i-compare ko sila. Lahat pala sila ay nag-training, for instance. Okay? You have to compare one table from the other table if it is necessary. And then, it is also important that you insert, as you can see here, you insert, you negate, you affirm. Based in your chapter 2, lahat ng sinulat nyo sa chapter 2, maghanap kayo ng may related sa result ninyo. As you can see here, ayan, ito yung result na nakuha ko, di ba? The findings show that more than half of the respondents have no training in child management. It is concluded that this is the reason why some teachers have difficulty in managing classes. It is suggested that administrators or school heads may take this account to train teachers in child management because the classroom is the right place where learning takes place. Yan. Ito na yun, binanggit ko siya. According to this author, mentioned that many learning leaders have claimed that the classroom itself influences students' achievements. So, ganun din ang gagawin ninyo. So, kaya ako pinapagawa ang chapter 2 para ma-relay nyo siya sa inyong chapter 4. I do hope you understand that kasi mahalaga po yan. Okay? So, what else? Another. Let's go back again to questions. So, ganun po ang pag-i-interpret ng data. Okay? Ayan. Now, question, miss, bakit po nag-direct na po kayo sa questions na to? Yung binigay nyo pong sample sa akin o sa amin is only the questions. What about the demographic profile? You have to create, I have here another sample here for the demographic profile. Okay? As you can see, this example, I have here the respondents. I have 157 respondents. These are all teachers and school heads in entire Laguna, from the 7 divisions of Laguna, for instance. Their age, as you can see, you have to bracket them. So yung age niya, hindi lang kayo pwedeng maglagay doon na 18 years old, 19 years old, 17 years old. No, you have to bracket the age para makita nyo yung range. Example, kasi ako, mayroon akong respondents na 60 years old. May respondents akong more than 50. May respondents akong 40 or a newbie teacher na nagre-range ng 20 to 25 years old. So I have to manage this into brackets. Binracket ko siya, yung number 1. Pag nag-type ako ng number 1, meaning yung teacher na yon, for instance, respondent number 1, nasa 3 siya, right? Tinype ko 3. Meaning, yung teacher na yon, nagre-range siya sa 31 to 40 years old. Ito namang si respondent number 5 ay number 4. Siya, ang kanyang age ay 41 to 50 years old. So, if you're going to get the SD here or the mean, ang respondents ko ay nagre-range ng 3.83. So, saan ang 3.83? Nagre-range siya in between 3.83 ay nagre-range siya sa 31 to 40 years old. Meaning, majority ng respondent ko ay in between 30 to 40 years old. So, mataas yung SD niya kasi bakit? Masyadong mataas ang gap. Meaning, what do you mean mataas ang gap? Mayroong akong 20 years old, may 56 years old ako. Just imagine the gap between 20 and 56 years old. So, yun yung meaning ng SD. To differentiate or to determine the relationship, yung closeness of the variable. Okay? Next. So, if you want, you can also include the name of the school. Ayan, lahat, rank, for instance. Kung students naman yan, you may also add probably the sections. Ayan, ano pa? Kung another example is, before I forget, nalimutan ko, dito sa questions ninyo, yung last part, ay ilalagay ninyo, for instance, ay ito. Example. Kasi yung, especially yung quantitative research, mayroon po silang dependent variables. Paano nyo i-measure ito? If for instance, wala kayong data, like for instance, i-range nyo rin ang grade nila. For instance, ang nilagay nyo dito ay final grade ng bata. So, ilalagay nyo lang 90, 91, 92. So, ilalagay nyo dito ay performance, for instance. Performance. Performance saan? How many? Ilang performances ang kukunin ninyo? First quarter ba? Second quarter? What kind of performances? Is it in dancing? Is it in math, Filipino, English? You have to specify. Kung lahat kukunin mo, lahat ng grades, ilalagay mo dyan, English, math, Filipino, lahat yun, ang dami nun. And then you get the mean. And then you get the SD. Kung gaano ka-close yung kanilang mga scores in a particular subject. All right? And then, once you already have that, you have to ask permission to your mathematics teachers to help you in your computation of, what is this? The computation of your statistical tool that you're gonna use. Kung yan ay gagamitin nyo i-t-test, mayroon din dito sa Excel for t-test. Pearson product, if I were you, I will just do it online kung hindi kayo marunong. But I know your teachers in math can help you with that, especially Sir Jerry and Sir Ryan. Anyway, Sir Jerry and Sir Ryan are both your panel members. Okay, they are already rating you guys. So I have no grade yet. I'm still waiting for their score. Okay? Na ibibigay. So this is just so easy for you. All you have to do is to include this. You need to include this as part of your indices. So ilalagay ito sa index. Lahat ng results, lahat ng computations na ginawa ninyo, ilalagay nyo sa inyong indices. Alright? Another, so balik tayo. Lahat ito, isa-isa yan. Now, how are you going to answer the hypothesis? After evaluating or after analyzing your tool that you use, kung yan ay ANOVA, you analyze the ANOVA. ANOVA is used to determine the differences of the respondents' answers. Yung relationship naman is Pearson product. To determine the score from the pre-test and the post-test, you use t-test. Okay? So yun po yung very simple statistical tool na pwede kong i-share sa inyo. Kasi yung iba, medyo complicated na. Like for instance, yung ginamit ko sa PhD ko, very complicated siya. So yun lang yung gusto kong magamit ninyong tatlo. For the quantitative, either the t-test to compare the scores or the results from pre-test and post-test. Especially yung group 8 ba yun? Is it group 8? Na mayroon silang pre-test and post-test? So before silang mag-conduct ng survey, magsa-survey muna sila about the awareness of their classmates or students when it comes to environment. And then, after that, they're going to ask them to watch a video na ginawa nila, presentations and so on, the explanations. And then, they're going to conduct another set of tests. And that is the post-test. So, ang gagamitin din dyan, guys, is t-test. Alright? All you have to do is to compare the result. Kung mataas ang kanilang post-test, therefore, yung ginawa ninyong program is effective. Kung bumaba ang score, ay hindi effective. Ilalagay nyo yun as a result. Kapag pag the same lang, parehas lang yung score, walang difference, so that means hindi nakakaapekto ang ginawa ninyo sa awareness ng mga bata. And that's it. Okay? But, Miss, mali na po yung aming research. No, there is no wrong research. So, yun yung findings nyo. Wala kayong magagawa. So, ano ang ilalagay nyo sa recommendation? Probably, you could improve more the project when it comes to awareness of the students. Ilalagay nyo yan because there is no perfect study. Even the prototype, hindi kayo nagkaige, nagkamali-mali, marami kayong trial, and yet, mahina pa rin yung power. So what would you do? Probably, ano yung pagkakamali nyo doon? Ilalagay ninyo sa inyong recommendations. Okay? Naintindihan po? Questions regarding the quantitative? May questions po ba? Para mas maintindihang mabuti? How to enlarge this? Probably I should close this. Yeah. Do you have questions, guys, regarding the quantitative? Questions po muna. Kasi I'm gonna ask somebody na quantitative to open your sample survey questionnaires and we're going to analyze if it is correct after this. Questions po? Are you still there?